Every time you ask artificial intelligence a question, the answer appears almost instantly. A paragraph, an image, a voice, a piece of code generated in seconds. It feels weightless, invisible, almost magical. But artificial intelligence is not floating somewhere in the clouds. It has a physical body. Before an AI model can answer a single question, enormous machines must be built. Data centers must be powered. Electrical grids must be expanded. Cooling systems must run continuously. And thousands of kilometers of cable must carry electricity between them. All of that requires metal, especially copper. And some of the world's most strategically important supplies of copper, cobalt, and other critical minerals lie beneath African soil. This means the winner of the global AI race may not be decided only by who develops the smartest algorithm in Silicon Valley or Beijing. It may also be decided by who controls the mines, processing facilities, railways and ports connecting Central Africa to the rest of the world. At the center of this struggle is one railway corridor, stretching from the Atlantic coast of Angola toward the mineral heartlands of the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Zambia. Its name is the Lobito Corridor, and it may become one of the most important geopolitical projects of the 21st century. But this story is not simply about America versus China. It is also about a much bigger question. Will Africa merely supply the raw materials for the next technological revolution? Or will African countries finally capture a meaningful share of the wealth created from their own resources? Technology companies encourage us to imagine AI as software. But an AI system is also an industrial machine. Behind every chatbot are rows of specialized processors operating inside enormous data centers. Those processors consume electricity. They generate heat. They require advanced cooling systems, backup power supplies, transformers, substations, and high-capacity electrical connections. Copper runs through almost every layer of that system. It carries electricity through buildings. It connects servers. It is used in transformers, motors, generators, cooling equipment, and the wider power grid. Nearly 3/4 of copper consumption is connected to electrical applications, including power generation, transmission, telecommunications, and electronic products. So when companies announce larger AI models, more powerful computing clusters, and billion-dollar data centers, they are not merely creating additional demand for computer chips. They are creating demand for an entire physical ecosystem. An AI chip without electricity is just an expensive rectangle. A data center without a reliable grid is a warehouse full of silent machinery. And a global AI economy without enough copper faces a very uncomfortable problem. You cannot download metal from the internet. The International Energy Agency has warned that the current pipeline of copper mining projects may be insufficient to meet future demand. Copper demand is rising not only because of AI, but because countries are simultaneously expanding renewable energy, electric vehicles, battery storage, and electricity networks. All of these industries are competing for many of the same materials. AI is therefore arriving in the middle of a much larger industrial transformation, and Africa is positioned directly inside it. Africa is not one country, one economy, or one mineral deposit. Its strategic importance comes from the variety of resources found across the continent. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is the world's leading source of mined cobalt and one of the largest producers of copper. Neighboring Zambia is also one of the world's major copper-producing nations. Other African countries possess significant deposits of graphite, manganese, lithium, platinum group metals, and rare earth elements. These materials enter different industries. Cobalt is heavily associated with rechargeable batteries, aerospace alloys, and military applications. Graphite is essential for many battery anodes. Rare earth elements are used in powerful permanent magnets, electric motors, wind turbines, and advanced defense systems. Copper is the common electrical bloodstream connecting digital technology, power infrastructure, and industrial electrification. But simply possessing minerals does not guarantee prosperity. Africa has lived through resource booms before: gold, diamonds, oil, uranium, copper. The pattern has often been painfully familiar. Raw materials leave the continent. High-value processing happens somewhere else. Finished products return at far higher prices. The exporting country receives taxes, royalties, and some employment. But the largest profits, advanced technologies, and industrial capabilities accumulate abroad. That is the resource trap. And the AI era could either repeat it or finally begin to break it. Because the most valuable part of a mineral is not always the moment it is extracted. Value grows through refining, processing, component manufacturing, engineering, logistics, finance, and technology. Whoever controls those stages captures much more than whoever merely digs the ore from the ground. And that is where China built its greatest advantage. For years, much of the Western world focused on designing products and building consumer brands. China focused on something less glamorous, but enormously powerful: the middle of the supply chain. China invested in mineral processing, smelting, refining, battery manufacturing, and infrastructure. It developed relationships with mineral-producing countries. Chinese companies invested heavily in copper and cobalt operations in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And China built the industrial capacity required to transform raw mineral concentrates into materials manufacturers could actually use. Mine, railway, port, refinery, component factory, finished product. The mine receives most of the attention, but the refinery is often the real bottleneck. By 2025, China was the leading refiner for 19 out of 20 major strategic minerals examined by the International Energy Agency, with an average market share of approximately 70%. China's position is not based on a single mine or one secret agreement. It is the result of decades of industrial policy, infrastructure investment, lower processing costs, technical expertise, and long-term planning. This is what alarmed Washington and its allies. They realized that owning technology companies was not enough. Designing advanced chips was not enough. Even discovering new mines was not enough. If the processing and transportation networks remain concentrated elsewhere, then the entire supply chain remains vulnerable. A political dispute, export restriction, military conflict, or shipping disruption could affect industries worth trillions of dollars. The United States and Europe therefore began searching for alternative routes and alternative partnerships. And their attention moved toward a railway built more than a century ago. Start on the Atlantic coast of Angola. Here lies the port city of Lobito. From Lobito, an existing railway travels east for approximately 1,300 kilometers across Angola, ending at Luau, near the border with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. From there, rail connections continue toward the mining regions of southern Congo. The larger plan includes rehabilitating Congolese railway sections and constructing a new connection into northwestern Zambia. This region contains one of the most important concentrations of copper and cobalt production on Earth. Historically, many exports from the copper belt have traveled east or south through congested roads, border crossings, and distant ports. The Lobito route provides a shorter western outlet to the Atlantic Ocean. According to European project estimates, journeys that previously required more than a month could, on functioning sections of the corridor, be reduced to approximately 1 week. The United States International Development Finance Corporation finalized a loan of up to $553 million for the Lobito Atlantic Railway. The financing supports rehabilitation of the Angolan Railway and the mineral port at Lobito. The project is expected to expand transportation capacity to approximately 4.6 million metric tons and reduce mineral transportation costs by as much as 30%. But the corridor is larger than one American loan. Angola, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Zambia are the host countries. The European Union, Italy, the African Development Bank, the Africa Finance Corporation, and other partners are involved in different elements. Plans associated with the broader corridor include transportation, renewable energy, agriculture, telecommunications, trade facilitation, education, and vocational training. Officially, this is a development corridor. Strategically, it is also something else. It is an attempt to create a Western accessible supply route from the mineral heart of Africa to the Atlantic. The Lobito corridor is not literally a railway carrying artificial intelligence. It is the logistics spine of the electrical and digital economy on which AI depends. The original Cold War was symbolized by nuclear weapons, military alliances, and the race to space. This new competition looks different. Its weapons are export controls, industrial subsidies, processing facilities, ports, railways, long-term mining contracts, and access to materials most people have never heard of. The objective is not necessarily to own every mineral deposit. It is to prevent a rival from controlling enough critical stages to paralyze your economy. China already possesses deep commercial relationships, infrastructure investments, and processing capacity across global mineral supply chains. The United States and Europe are trying to build alternatives. That is why Lobito matters. It gives mineral producers in Central Africa another major export route. It gives Western companies another potential supply channel. And it gives Angola, the DRC, and Zambia more bargaining power by reducing dependence on a limited number of buyers and transportation networks. But competition between major powers does not automatically benefit Africa. A railway can carry opportunity. It can also carry raw wealth out of a country faster than before. If the corridor merely accelerates the movement of unprocessed minerals toward foreign factories, then Africa may receive improved infrastructure without achieving real industrial transformation. The trains may move faster. The ships may leave sooner. But the old economic structure would remain exactly where it was. That is the danger hidden beneath the promises. For the Lobito corridor to transform the region, it cannot function only as a mineral exit route. It must become an industrial corridor. That means reliable electricity for communities and factories, local copper processing, battery material production, engineering companies, equipment maintenance, technical education, transparent contracts, environmental protection, and transportation access for farmers and local businesses, not only multinational mining corporations. The African Union's Green Minerals Strategy argues that African countries must move beyond exporting raw materials. The goal is to build regional value chains, create skilled employment, and capture more of the value produced from African minerals. That distinction matters. Exporting copper ore creates revenue. Producing refined copper creates more. Manufacturing electrical cables, transformers, motors, battery components, and industrial equipment creates more again. The deeper a country moves into the value chain, the more knowledge, employment, and negotiating power it can accumulate. Mine the material. Process it. Refine it. Manufacture with it. Develop the technology around it. That is how a mineral resource becomes an industrial economy. Africa does not need to reject foreign investment. The continent needs to negotiate investment from a position of strategy. Foreign companies will naturally protect their own interests. Foreign governments will naturally pursue their own national security. African governments must be equally serious about their own long-term interests. The question is not whether America or China wants access to Africa's minerals. They clearly do. The real question is, what will Africa demand in exchange? The global AI race is usually presented as a competition between algorithms. Which company has the largest model? Which country has the fastest chips? Which system can reason, create, or automate more effectively? But underneath that digital competition lies a much older struggle. The struggle for energy, materials, industrial capacity, transportation routes, and political influence. The next generation of artificial intelligence will require more than brilliant programmers. It will require power stations, transmission lines, transformers, cooling systems, semiconductor materials, and vast quantities of copper. That is why Africa matters. Not because every AI chip contains minerals mined in Africa, and not because one railway will determine the future by itself. Africa matters because the AI boom is colliding with the energy transition, the expansion of global electricity networks, and the competition to secure critical supply chains. The Lobito corridor sits where all of those forces meet. For Washington, it represents diversification. For Europe, it represents access and regional connectivity. For China, it represents new competition in a region where Chinese companies have built considerable influence. For mining corporations, it represents a faster route to international markets. But for the people of Angola, Zambia, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the stakes are much greater. This is not simply a competition over where minerals will travel. It is a decision about where prosperity will remain. If Africa exports only rock, the greatest wealth will continue to be created elsewhere. But if African countries use this moment to demand processing, manufacturing, skills, technology transfer, regional trade, and accountable governance, then the AI revolution could help finance an African industrial revolution. That outcome is not guaranteed. Railways do not automatically create development. Mineral wealth does not automatically create prosperity, and foreign investment does not automatically create independence. Those outcomes require deliberate choices, strong institutions, regional cooperation, and leaders willing to negotiate beyond the next election or the next shipment. So the next time an AI system answers your question in less than a second, remember the enormous physical world behind that answer. A mine, a worker, a power line, a refinery, a railway crossing Angola, a port facing the Atlantic, and a geopolitical contest over who will control the foundations of the future. The global AI race may be written in code, but beneath the code lies metal, and beneath much of that metal lies Africa. The question is no longer whether the world needs Africa. It does. The question is whether Africa will use that need to build a future of its own.